All right. This is 60 Agenda. Welcome, welcome. Welcome back for our listeners. We've been getting we've been ticking up. So we appreciate you. We hope you enjoy. Definitely support the show. Go follow our many social medias that we got going on. We may do some lives. We don't need to miss out on that. So definitely check that out because we do some urgent updates during the week for people who follow us on there. So that'd be cool if you guys saw that as well. Outside of that, yeah, definitely check out our Venmo, show us some love there. We got some cameras and stuff. We're trying to build a studio, get all that set up. If you enjoy it enough, you know what I mean? Of course, it's up to you. Um, other than that, we want to thank you again at the end of the day. Appreciate you. Appreciate the love from Let It Go Backwards was the username. They gave us a little shout out on our comment section. We're gonna start shouting out anybody who leaves a comment, leave some love. We're gonna shout you out. So hey, you want to shout you out? Appreciate it.
Hell yeah, dude. Some day
Yeah, yeah,
ones.
damn right. So yeah, dude, we're thinking we're gonna talk about some ancient hidden civilizations. Maybe get into Tartaria if we can get some time. We've kind of touched on that before, but we'll definitely get deeper into that. But first off, just food for thought. I saw this article after I kind of got this show ready. And I was thinking, I was like, man, that's kind of perfect for what we're doing. Because if you believe in an alternative building of the Egyptian pyramids, then this might be intriguing for you. So, scientists created a silent sound beam that lifts and steers solid objects midair. No hands, no contact, no noise. So,
A
in other
tractor
words, they
beam?
pretty much. So, they built like a frequency object that they can pinpoint the beams and make it do what it wants
Whoa.
or what they want, rather. So, I mean, that's if you look at the theories of Egypt, the different theories they have, when you're talking moving
Yeah.
those blocks kiloton, all the way up, what was it, like 60 miles or 6 miles? Either way, it's a long way to be bringing those blocks upriver.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a plausible thing that I've heard people say. We talk about
Yeah.
frequency. Yeah, we talk about frequency technology in this show a lot. So it's kind of perfect for what we're getting into today as well.
Dude, you know the oh fuck, I forgot what it's called. The it's some sort of gun, but it's in Gary's mod.
Gary's mod.
Yeah, Gary's mod. It's a PC game.
Oh, I've
It's
never
like
seen that.
it's like a mod based off of like Half-Life 2 or whatever, but it's literally that.
Yeah.
You can pick up objects and manipulate them, like 3D objects and move them and shit.
Hmm.
Gravity, I think it's the gravity gun.
It's kind of like the new Zelda game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got like a glove, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he picks it up, he can rotate it, whatever. It's definitely, something that people have theorized for a long time. And now we're starting to see the metaphysical shit that we talk about, right? That possibly people could do back then. Now we're proving it with science once again. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, we're going to keep seeing that. You're going to keep seeing metaphysics get proven by science because science is metaphysics, like we talk about. It's hardwired. It's just like more of a material version. That's all.
Yeah, that would explain so much if that's true.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. That's why we keep seeing just more and more. If you know about occultism, then you'll notice it more because like lead turned into gold with CERN. Like that's an alchemist thing. So
Yeah.
when they say things like that, I just feel like it's kind of a homage to the occult. So enough with the intro there. We'll start off with some South American hidden civilizations. I mean, dude, we could go. I mean, this is one of those where we could go on forever about all the different places. So there's a good amount of them. There's just some really interesting ones, though. So, yeah, of course, the first one is going to be one that I just cannot pronounce. That's awesome.
Sweet.
Saskatchewan. No, Saskatchewan.
Okay.
It's in Peru. It's a massive interlocking stone block structure. It weighs about 100 tons and it fits perfectly without mortar. The stones are earthquake resistant and they have strange zigzag wall patterns. Official explanation is built by the Inca, but many argue the precision suggests a pre-Incan, possibly megalithic civilization. Now, we're going to see that a lot because the ancient kind of theory is that there was an advanced civilization that built it, and then they have civilizations we know of, like the Mayans and the Incans, inherited these buildings. So that's why they kind of believe, because if you look at the architecture, it kind of degrades over time,
Yeah.
which indicates that people mastered it and then lost that mastery. So yeah, that's just a little forewarning. Yeah. So another spot in Peru is massive granite stones. They had to be transported from a quarry over 6 miles away. It's over a mountain range, and evidence of tooling marks that don't match like Bronze Age technology was seen there too. So suggests that there's probably some kind of maybe vibration based cutting, right?
Mm.
Which is what we were just talking about. So this is going to be fun because I'm
Mm.
telling you, there's a lot of vibration based technology that seems to be going on back then.
Yeah. I guess if it's concentrated, you could probably slice through some big ass shit.
Yeah, and I mean you've seen like the cymatics, right? Where they did with the sand and then they would do certain sounds and it would make the sand kind of make different like geometric patterns.
Yeah.
Kind of like water. If you say like apparently if you say, negative things to water, it'll like break down the structure of it. But then if you say positive things and vibrations, it's supposed to make it do the same thing.
Right.
I don't know. I've never tried that experiment myself, but maybe that's real. Yeah, there's a spot in Bolivia, and you guys may have seen this as a listener, the intricate H blocks. Maybe you've seen those with right angles and precise internal cuts. Modern machine work is just kind of what it indicates. And as a machinist, I've seen some of this stuff, and you just can't cut stone with chisels the way that
Yeah.
they did that. It just doesn't happen. You wouldn't have it so uniformly flat. You're talking flatness that you just can't achieve without like a grinding wheel. I mean, there's just different things you would have to have, like that could spin fast or do things like that.
Right. I mean, you've seen some like stonemasons do some pretty cool shit with some chisels, but
Yeah.
it's never like their first cut is pure, like straight line,
Yeah.
even, smooth. It's always got imperfections.
Yeah. And again, these ruins here that we're talking about predate the Inca by thousands of years. Some carbon datings go back to 15,000 BC. That is before the known Incans. So it kind of goes into the proof of there's some shit we lost, and
Yeah.
this could have been the story and the because 15,000 years that goes into the processions. We've talked about the great year cycle in this show and how a cataclysm tends to come each procession, right? So with all these different stories we've went over from the, Hopis and everybody else to talk about cataclysms that have came and gone and they keep happening, kind of shows that, hey, well, if right now a cataclysm came, the only people that would survive would be like tribal people in the woods for the most part.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they would know nothing. And you would see evidence of advancements. But then you would see people that obviously don't know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to those. You know what I mean? So it would be a mismatch, just like we see today.
Right.
So, yeah, local legends say that sky people helped construct them. So, again, we're probably talking about these entities, possibly.
Yeah.
There's always a little hint at these little fucking G gods who know what, whatever they are. So yeah, there's common architectural traits rather that are across South America. Um, a lot of like, well, I don't really know what this means, but masonry that's like massive interlocking style masonry. Astro alignment, there's a lot of that going on, which means that it's this indicative. What we're doing now is kind of showing the Atlantean society that fell, and the
Yeah.
way you can figure out if it's them is by the way they build. It's the location, it's the style of building and the precision.
Right.
And that's why Freemasons, right? The builders, the master builders is what they call themselves. That's why they call themselves that, because they believe that they're carrying the torch from these old master architects that
Right.
were also into the same stuff. So it's kind of cool, dude, when you think about it that way. You know what I mean? Subterranean tunnels linking temples and hidden chambers. There's always initiation ceremonies in a lot of these cultures as well. And the soft stone theory apparently is that ancients had a way to melt or soften rock, possibly using plants or sound resonance. We keep hearing that sound resonance seems to be the main theory. And to be honest, it makes the most sense. If you don't use anything mechanical, the only way you could really achieve this kind of stuff would be from like frequency. You know what I mean? It's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, yeah, so global parallels to South American megaliths, we have a bunch of them in Egypt, obviously, precision cut granite inside of the Great Pyramids of Giza, machine precision again. And the core belief is the pyramid is not a tomb. You've probably heard this, but a form of energy or a resonant structure or a, what do they call them? Mm, a generator, like a water using water pumps. Who knows? Because at the very top you have like a kind of like gold capstone, and so that's very conductive.
Yeah.
Copper, gold. These are things that you would use if you were trying to generate some kind of electricity on the top of your structure. So yeah, Giza aligns once again with Orion's belt. A lot of people probably heard that. And this is around 10,000 BC that would have aligned with it. So I think it predates that. I mean, how long did it stay there? You know what I mean?
Right.
I wonder. I wonder how long Orion sits right there. But anyway, India is another spot. There's caves. They're carved downward from a single rock. That's not some shit that you can just do with chisels.
Nah, that takes some clawing and digging.
And I think I've seen this one, dude, and it is all super intricate. Like you just walked into a mosque where the walls are textured and like almost psychedelic looking.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it's not, these guys aren't just carving shit like, it's nothing. I mean, they're doing some crazy shit.
Yeah.
But there's 200,000 tons of rock that were removed just to do that. It's comparable to the mysterious underground structures in South America and Turkey. And we're gonna get into like some of the caves and shit because like the catacombs, stuff like that, because I believe that has something to do with this technology or structure or like civilization too, a little bit, kind of like Tartaria. So yeah, there's a Gobekli Tepe, which was found recently. A lot of people probably heard about this one. It's a megalithic site predating Stonehenge by 6,000 years. So we're talking like 12,500 era. Once again, that's like the precession of the Ice Age ending. A lot of that Randall Carlson kind of stuff that we hinted at before that I mean, everybody's heard about it because everybody's seen Joe Rogan. So it's
Yeah.
like you definitely know about that. And if not, leave a comment. We'll get into it. Indonesia, there's a carbon dated back to 20,000 year megalithic pyramid complex. It's only recently been excavated. So, I mean, dude, everywhere in the world, you got these pyramids. I'm wondering if the mounds, because in China, apparently they took mounds or pyramids rather and made them into mounds.
Hmm.
I wonder if they did that with ours,
Yeah.
like the one in Cahokia. Like, did they just get rid of the pyramids here so that way, I mean, if you think about it, we were like slaughtering natives because they're savages. So obviously, you wouldn't want to keep their pyramids that could prove otherwise. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, I don't know. The mounds are oddly specific, and the history behind them is definitely weird. Like the mound people
Yeah.
versus the people who didn't live on mounds. Like, why the fuck?
No, exactly. And there's some, I mean, well, they were supposed to be like a big trading area. I still don't get it though. Like the mounds and the pyramids all represent that kind of temple initiatory kind of structure, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so we're trying to act like it only happened in South America for some reason. I wonder about that. It's the same thing with like the Grand Canyon, which we're going to get into that. We hinted on it on the last show about kind of these areas that are restricted. We'll get
yeah,
into that. But yeah, so America's weird where we like to hide shit from people.
yeah, definitely.
Kind of like the World's Fair, where we're like, well, this technology or these architectural structures had to have predated the World's Fair,
Yeah,
you know?
there's always some place somewhere that it's like, yeah, you can't fucking go here, and you don't know
Mm-hmm.
shit about it.
Yep. And yeah, so I mean, all these structures that we just pointed out pretty much point to the advanced knowledge of cosmology, mathematics, all those things that just couldn't have been attained by people who mainstream tell you that they were. Sound vibration based technology was probably going on, sonic levitation, which they're kind of proving now. So it's not even a you see, like when I was kind of getting his notes ready, that was a theoretical thing at that moment still. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But then today, the next day, a couple days later, I see an article that's just like proves that that's not a theoretical thing, like past cymatics, because the cymatics kind of proves it. But then now they're saying they can lift, steer, and everything without touching it. I mean, that's proving it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely something there, I think. But yeah, I mean, this stuff outmatches our own modern capabilities. So I mean, that's something to think about, you know? But
For
yeah, so
sure.
let's get into the Grand Canyon mysteries. There's forbidden zones, Egyptian relics, allegedly, and some hidden history that goes into that. So in 1909, the Smithsonian suppression story is that on April 5th, the Arizona Gazette published an article. It was titled Explorations in Grand Canyon, Remarkable Finds Indicate Ancient People Migrated from the Orient. And the Orient would be clearly Eastern Asia, somewhere over there, right? So it detailed the discovery of a massive underground city inside the canyon. There was a man named G.E. Kincaid, allegedly funded by the Smithsonian Institute, who claimed findings hieroglyphs and Egyptian Buddhist style statues. There was a temple chamber with mummies in lotus positions. This is in the Grand Canyon, mind you. And there's artifacts made of copper and gold found there with passageways that stretch miles into the rock. This hints at some of that Hopi
Yeah,
Indian shit,
that's
dude. Like,
fucking
what's up?
wild,
So
bro.
back when the Hopi, now here's my theory. Back when the Hopi Indians were still around, before they went underground, for whatever reason, we aren't even gonna like speculate what brought them underground, what entities there were, who were the ant people, I don't know. But putting that aside, the Hopi Indians had to have been part of this Atlantean civilization that was a one world kind of structure, right? Which we can point to with all the pyramids and the style of hieroglyphs or like the way they live and all that stuff, right? And so clearly this points that out that that was going on in America as well, not just South America. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So there was a cover up that happened. Supposedly, Kincaid worked under Professor S.A. Jordan of the Smithsonian, who never publicly confirmed the report. So you got a guy that went in there that found all this stuff, and then his higher up says, I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, that's weird. It's almost like he knew about it already. He's like, "Yo, chill out,
or that
chill out."
it's against their interests. You know what I mean? And by interests, I mean like who funds the Smithsonian. Now we're talking about the Rothschilds again, right? So
Yeah.
very quickly you're gonna find yourself talking about the big bloodline names when you start looking at who serves this institute, right? So anyway, to this day, the Smithsonian's deny that there was any involvement and no such artifacts were found. The location cited is now a restricted area. No hiking, camping, or flyovers allowed. That really proves that really helps me believe you that there was no artifacts found. Smithsonian. I appreciate. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like what type of? I mean, dude, Black Hawk helicopters will come and grab you if you go into these sites.
Yeah, they'll just come and nab you up.
Yeah, there's people who've tried. I mean, they get stopped and brought out of there.
They get abducted, dude. That's the
So
closest thing to getting abducted by aliens right now.
yeah, and if you believe what I believe, then the Air Force intelligence, Black Ops, was who was abducting aliens. So, or abducting people rather, posing as
Mm.
aliens. So that's what I think. But anyway, so the locations and their names in the Grand Canyon are um pretty significant. Tower of Set, which would be the like sunset, right? When the sun sets. So then you got Horus is like the good god, and then Set is the bad one, right?
Yeah.
The Tower of Ra, which would be the sun god, Isis temple, which is the moon goddess, Osiris temple, which is another sun god. If you're looking in, because within Egyptian, you have Osiris, which is the same thing as Ra. They have like two different pantheons within their one structure. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And then Horus temple and Shiva temple. Why would a U.S. Geological Survey name remote canyons after Egyptian and Hindu deities in the early 1900s unless there was something significant found there?
Right.
Why is it restricted? There's
Yeah.
large portions of the Grand Canyon that are completely off limits, even to the park rangers. The area around the Kaibab Plateau and the Haunted Canyon is classified as highly restricted airspace. Definitely look that up on your Google Maps. Those spots I just said. And there's no known public archaeological excavation that has occurred in the supposed area since 1909.
Mm-hmm.
So they just keep you away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's probably this is part of this ancient global culture that they're probably just trying to hide from us that like that people find hints of, whether it's giant bones, or mounds. We're gonna get into the mounds, but I just think, yeah, a lot of the shit in America, I think yeah, they're hiding it. But yeah, there's similarities in the sites like Jordan, Elephantine Island, Karnak in Egypt, and there's a suggested use of sacred geometry in underground temple networks. Which, of course, yeah, because this is once again, this is just proving the global governance, if you want to call it that, spirituality that used to run this world. So, esoterically, the Egyptian temples may have been Atlantean outposts, part of ancient global priest class. Some suggest that there was initiatory mystery schools that were located in these energy grid nodes, right? So if you're doing frequency technology and you know about ley lines and you learn about ley lines, which we've talked about, these are certain points in the earth that just naturally there's like lines that lay over each other that
Right.
just create some kind of energy. They knew this shit back then. So they tapped into it. It sounds crazy to us, but they understood shit. So yeah, this place may have been a portal zone, is what I'm getting at. Energy harvesting site, buried and sealed off. You know what I mean? Just like Antarctica, where you got the signals coming out, it's possibly another site. Just like in Egypt, another site.
Right.
So I mean, that's kind of my view of this whole thing. Who knows?
I
But
think
yeah,
I think it could be plausible. I mean, it's just like no one fucking knows. I mean, we talked about it last episode. Fucking no one knows like the Antarctic. No one knows what's in the Grand Canyon either.
no,
And they keep it
exactly.
that way.
Yeah, they do. They're like, go visit the Grand Canyon. You can just stand over there and look in it.
Yeah, you
You don't
stand
really.
in the same spot millions of other people do, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
cool." What else do you do there other than go, "Oh shit.
No,
Oh, what if
yeah.
I fall in?" All right, let's drive back to the
I
fucking
want to go
hotel now.
kayak down there, dude. I want to go kayak down there. I feel like that'd be fun.
I think that'd be sick.
Too bad they restrict you on half of it.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to get into the catacombs as well. We'll get back into the mounds soon, back into the Americas. But this is just the order my notes went in. So anyway, yeah. So Lascaux and Chauvet caves in southwestern France are 17,000 plus years old, and the Chauvet is over 30,000 years old. And these caves have paintings that display precision or precise rather astronomical knowledge. Pleiades constellations are depicted, all kinds of shit, which is kind of crazy if you're talking 30,000 years ago. And there's shamanic and interdimensional beings, half animal, half human hybrids, which gets into like that's crazy because that's in France, nowhere near Greece, which had all these same mythical stories.
Yeah.
Was it mythical? You know what I mean? Maybe we were more etheric back then, and then we've more materialized as times went on. I'm reading this book that I think we'll get into it on here sometime. It's H.P. Blavatsky's um, Isis Unveiled, if you want to check that out. But it is, I mean, this is written by theosophical people who worship the little g gods, but I still like to read what they talk about just because, man, they got some shit to learn. But I do think some of their stuff is true. Like we probably were etheric beings that were able to kind of contact entities easier back in the day. And maybe there were like half animal human hybrids back then. And
Mm,
then as time went on, we're talking thousands, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 years. Yeah, you're not going to, these are just mythical stories now.
right.
But yeah, dude. So the Paris catacombs, there's 200 miles of underground tunnels, and only a fraction of it's opened up to the public, constructed from ancient Roman quarries, later filled with over 6 million skeletons. Now, was it later filled with, or was it all right? I mean, what is that? I don't know. How did that happen? I'm sure there's a historical event that points to that. That a history buff listener is like, how do you not know about this? You know?
Yeah,
But I still
right.
think it's weird. Like 6 million people. I mean, where the fuck do you get 6 million skeletons? There must be some massive, massive, like people had to die quick to
Yeah.
have that many skeletons you got to get rid of. But there's esoteric groups that we're getting at. In French, Freemason is French for the Sons of Light. But so the French occultism is pretty deep. But yeah, esoteric groups like Freemasons, Templars, have all been tied to rituals held within the deeper levels of this catacomb structure. And the skeletons are arranged in geometric and alchemical patterns, hinting at death transcendence rites. Because the whole idea is that you experience death and then you come out reborn. We talked about that ad nauseum. This kind of points that out, kind of gives a reason why they would have skeletons down there if it wasn't some massive, you know, cataclysm.
Yeah.
So there are secret doors and passages that aren't on any maps. They probably link to like different portals or not temples rather, and different routes. Probably smuggling kids.
No.
We know there's some wild boys. That's what they do, dude. They use these old tunnels, man. They use the tunnel systems. It's like
Always
in Brooklyn with the synagogue.
always kids, man.
Yeah, that gets in the occult too. We'll have to. We're gonna get into that too. The Order of the Nine Angles. If nobody's heard of that, we're gonna get into the Finders cult. We're gonna talk a lot about the elite global pedophile ring that just seems to always just get away with everything.
Hmm.
So yeah, Rene Le Chateau in the Pyrenees caves are a hotspot for Gnostic and Templar and Cathar legends. Underground cave systems said to house ancient scrolls and relics of Christ, even non-human remains, which is crazy. Mary Magdalene apparently arriving in France and hiding teachings underground, the Holy Grail being buried in a cavern near there, and ancient megalithic structures above the caves seem to align with the solstices and the constellations. So yeah, these are probably temples. You know what I mean? Before they were tombs, they were probably using once again, the Gnostics and the Templars and the Freemasons. They go underground because they had to hide from the Catholicism and the different the ruling religion that was going on during that time. So they had to go underground
Yeah.
and do what they like to do because they were heretics.
I mean, where else would you go, I guess, if you just wanted to do your fuckery in peace?
Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're getting down to is the Earth is covered with a global network of caves and tunnels, and they're probably used for post-apocalyptic or post-cataclysmic shelters, temples, like we just mentioned, initiation centers, or like we talked about in our last spot, entrances to the hidden inner Earth. Which, like we said, that's probably bullshit. Because again, they want you to think everything's literal. These people were going underground to these temples, saying that they went way underground and met literal beings, whenever really they went inside of themselves and were reborn in this spiritual sense because they're into a cult.
Yeah.
Not to say it's bad or good necessarily. At the very top, there tends to be power factions that make it bad. But yeah, so hidden American pyramids. Let's get back to the mounds and the mysteries of that. So the mound builders, possibly a lost civilization. The Mississippian cultures, many of these mounds predate these tribes and even predate known Native American settlements in some regions, which kind of throws the whole mound being, these just like trade cities is what they call them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You say the natives were savages, they were tribal, they were this and then they were that. And then you say that they had one of the largest trade routes in the Western world. It doesn't even make sense.
Right.
So their structures mirror global pyramid structure architecture, which I've seen myself and I agree. Geometric precision, cardinal alignment, layered stepped construction, and often it's placed near rivers or ley lines. And the major U.S. mounds that are actually pyramids, Cahokia Mounds, first one on the list, largest pyramid north of Mesoamerica, 100-foot tall and covers 14 acres. It has plaza layouts, astronomical observatories, and burial chambers with high status individuals. And it's near perfect alignment with the solstice akin to the Giza or the Teotihuacan.
Yeah, and right across the highway is a man-made mound of fucking trash.
Exactly, because that's, and then they put the hoodest, they put some impoverished community right there that doesn't give a shit about any kind of historical
Yeah.
significance or like hidden technology or civilization. It's the best way to hide it in plain sight.
Yep.
So yeah, mainstream says it was built in 1050 AD by the Mississippians, but some studies in oral tradition suggests it's probably thousands of years older, which I honestly agree because again, it's just over and over with the Incans. The Egyptians have no writing that shows that they built the pyramids.
Yeah.
So they must have inherited it too. I mean, they said they did. So, dude, that just gets into weird shit where it's like, okay, so is the Noah shit real in the Bible, right? The flood took everybody out.
Yeah, and they
I mean, that's what you start to wonder about that.
wasn't that the whole idea behind the mounds? Because if they were up on the mounds, then they'd be safe from the flood.
Maybe. No, I just think that was indicative of it clearly wasn't enough to save them, dude. I've climbed up on top of the mountain. It ain't that tall. 100 feet tall. When you're up there, it feels small.
Yeah, I mean when you're up there, it it's bigger than you think it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Because when you
100%.
drive past it, you're like, oh, that ain't shit. But when you're walking up those stairs, you're like, holy fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a spot. It's so funny, this name, Poverty Point. So again, it's probably like a poverty, right? Poverty Point, Louisiana. Dates
Sweet.
back at least 1700 BC, possibly much older. Enormous concentric earthworks aligned with solstices and equinoxes, massive in scale, and it's over 400 acres with mound-like ridges and geometric formation. I mean, this is in Louisiana. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a spot in Georgia, Etowah, a step pyramid form, central causeways and burial chambers with copper stone tools. Artifacts show trade with Mesoamerican cultures. How? You know what I mean? So there was clearly a lot more going on. We
Yeah.
got the Serpent Mound is one of my favorite. Have you ever heard of this one? It's in Ohio.
Just now, it's over 1,300 feet long. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude. Serpentine effigy,
That's
because
wicked.
again, the serpentinian kind of worship is what we're kind of talking about here that these people were into.
Yeah.
This is just proving that, dude. It's just another piece on the Lego set. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was probably built over an older structure from what I saw, possibly Atlantean era or pre-cataclysmic origin. The egg at the serpent's mouth may symbolize a cosmic portal or divine spark, or like we've talked about, the egg, the cosmic egg of death and rebirth. It would be at the head of the snake. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. They were
It is
looking at the
kind
egg
of
shit
crazy.
back then, dude.
It's all coming full circle, dude.
It always does. That's why I'm into this shit, bro.
Yeah,
It's like, come
man.
on, man. You can't make this shit up.
Yeah, you really can't.
You know what I just found out today? So we had a propaganda episode that like I took down. I don't know. I'll put it back up. But during the propaganda episode, we talked about shit. What was his name? He was Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays. That's his name. Edward Bernays. Did you know his grandson? Now we talked about Edward Bernays and how he was the guy who wrote the book on propaganda, right?
Yeah.
You remember talking about that?
Yep.
You know what I didn't know when we talked about it? His grandson owns Netflix.
No shit.
Dude, yes, you can't make this shit up, bro. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like this constant connection with these people. And it's just like, fuck, the guy who created psychology and like behavioral science, his nephew created propaganda, like the science of propaganda. And then you have his nephew, his great nephew, owns Netflix. And then he's connected to some family that's like deep, whatever. I forgot what family, some elite family. So it's just
Yeah.
really just connections after connections.
Yeah, one of his great nephews.
It's like that thing that's like, oh, Pope Leo's related to Miley Cyrus and all these, or Justin Bieber and all these different people, right? And then somebody put up there, so random. And I was like, yeah, so random, and kind of like laughed
Yeah.
because no, it's not random. These guys are all related because that's how this works.
Mark Bernays Randolph is the
Yep.
guy's name.
Yep. Mark Randolph. And see how he's smartly, that's not even a word. He intelligently put his name in the middle. So you don't know right away.
Oh.
They know what they're doing, dude. They're pretty good at it. It's actually crazy. I've got a book that I'm actually reading right now, and it's two books. I'm reading a book about occult eugenics. So we're gonna get into eugenics because that's what we're talking about right now. Eugenics, the fact that these people all just are related and they try to keep it within the family, and then not necessarily relations within the family, but they like to make sure that whoever their kids are with, they're other people with like minds and that have equal money and equal whatever
Yeah.
status. And so I'm reading a book from the horse's mouth of Freemason Manly P. Hall, who talks about the occult side of eugenics before eugenics was really a big thing. It's kind of when it was first starting
Mm-hmm.
back in the 30s. So this is like right when it was becoming a thing. So you mix that with this book I'm reading about the Rothschilds. And there's these names that keep popping up, dude. It goes back. So this book goes back to the history of the Rothschilds, right? Whenever they popped out on the scene, because they kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then they didn't have much money in the beginning, but they seemed to just make money quickly and then invest and make more money really quick. And then they took over. So it seems like they came in posing as people that just didn't have anything, that knew the blueprint of how to make money. And then
Right.
they did it. You know what I'm saying? That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I keep seeing these names. This is what I'm trying to get at: Baron and Adolf.
Hmm.
These are names I keep seeing in the Rothschilds family over and over again: Adolf and Baron. And I'm like, dude, this is crazy because, um, you got Baron Trump, right?
Right.
I know they're not related, but it just seems like the American. I mean, he's definitely connected to the Rothschild Zionism, super into that. He's 100%, yes, Rothschild agent for sure. I don't care what anybody says. But deeper than that, Adolf is not a name you see very often, right?
No, that's been a name that's been thrown out a long
It
time ago.
has. So there's a conspiracy theory that Adolf Hitler was the child of a maid who was working in the Rothschilds manor. So it's possible that Adolf Hitler is an estranged. You will not find that on the internet. You can try, but I promise you it will not come up. So there's a possibility that he's an estranged child of the Rothschilds that was then propped up by the Rothschilds to create Israel and do what he did. Crazy stories with Hitler, dude. Like I can't make out what to think with that. But then when you see that all the families, Baron and Adolf and Baron, I mean, they named 5 or 6 people Baron.
Yeah, that is
So they like that name. They like that name. So yeah. And then I saw Solomon is the last name I saw. And then I saw that he was connected with something. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. We're not, this isn't the episode for that. But one of these days, pretty soon, we're going to get into eugenics and this whole elite eugenicism that goes on right in front of our eyes. And
yeah.
we don't know all these people are related that are, and it's for a reason.
Yeah, the claim that he descended from the Rothschild family is a persistent theory, but there's no credible evidence to support it.
Great. I don't care. So, because it's one of those things, dude. Like, okay, yeah, just like, how about you look up the fucking skull that they found and they said it was Hitler's and then it turned out to be a woman's. So they never even proved like that they don't even have, but then they'll tell you, they'll swear up and down that that was him somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fuck them. They're lying, dude. They lie about JFK, they lie about Hitler, they lie about the people that, the things that matter. Bin Laden, they lie about it. We'll get into that though one day because I know that there's some shit out there. I'll be able to find it. And I'll let you decide, if you believe it.
Yeah, ChatGPT is, along with what you just said, it's very likely not his. According to modern forensic testing, it may in fact belong to a woman.
Yeah, no, it was a woman's skull, but I like how it says it may in fact. It's
Yeah.
like it does. It is. It's a woman's skull. So anyway, fun. All right. So many mound sites were destroyed by settlers or conveniently reinterpreted, which is definitely what I think. You know, dozens of pyramid-shaped mounds in the Midwest and South have been bulldozed and covered by foreign military bases, highways, or private property. And again, here they are. The Smithsonian's played a major role, removing skeletons that many were 7 to 9 feet tall. And then if you ask to see those said warehouses where these skeletons allegedly were put, they say there's asbestos. They say there was a fire. They give all these reasons why they can't show you. And then they deny artifacts suggesting old world, so then they deny it. But yeah, so then symbolism and functions, these burial mounds weren't just burial mounds, but they were probably energy centers, maybe even calendar tracking type, because they were into this cosmology, using that for calendars.
Mm-hmm.
And then initiation centers, like we talked about, sacrificial centers, who knows? Because they were into some wild shit. But I just think at the end of the day, it challenges the mainstream timeline. And they're very, very strongly trying to hold on to that because then that's tied to evolution, which they need that because evolution is like a big thing in the science world. You got to have that because then that kills God, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, not to say that like everything in the Bible is like what it is, but I'm just saying I don't believe in evolution. I don't, it's a theory still. They haven't proven it, just like gravity. Could be a simulation. Could be a simulation. They can't fucking put their finger on it. Now they're saying it's a quantum thing. So that way then they can kind of have a way out of proving it. Because they're like, look, quantum stuff, every time you try to look at it, it runs away. So it's like
Yeah.
that's what gravity is. That's what they're trying to say. They're like, listen, we can't prove gravity, so it must be a quantum experience that's going on.
Yeah, because
And honestly, it's a good cop out.
the thing with quantum is they always say it works, but we don't know how.
No, exactly. And I love that because that's just like, well, then what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You want to get into some like giants?
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Let's get into the Giants.
Yeah, we can get into the giants, maybe even some of the what's it called? What's it called? Tartaria shit.
Like,
So,
involved with the mounds and shit?
I mean, they're kind of related because the Tartarians, we won't get into that. So the global giant phenomenon is maybe possibly a suppressed megalithic race. So we'll start with Genesis 4, which we've talked about before. There were giants in the earth in those days, mighty men of old, men of renown. These are the Nephilim, born of the sons of God, watchers or Anunnaki, and the daughters of men, mingling together. And the book of Enoch describes how fallen angels descended onto Mount Hermon. And every time you see the Paramount logo and you see all those stars go around the mountain, that's them showing you the fallen angels falling around Mount Hermon. So they took wives, human wives, and created a hybrid race of giants. And these beings taught forbidden knowledge like alchemy, astrology, mathematics, weaponry, all
Mm,
the things we worship today, right? So that's my point in saying that we worship shit that like we were given like by fallen angels, if you believe this shit.
yeah.
So in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is another story that kind of predates the Bible, Gilgamesh is described as 2/3 divine, massive in stature, likely a post flooding Nephilim king, which I argue so is Nimrod, and then you have that kind of fall of all that, but then the people that still worship those old people that used to run everything, which are the fallen angels, that's who we see today that we call evil. And that's all we're pointing out in most of our shows is really just what we broke down in that last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that like, I mean, really, it does kind of break down to that. And it comes all the way to now. It's crazy. But in Native American lore, every native tribe has oral traditions of giant beings, often cannibalistic or red haired, described as living in caves, mounds, or underground cities,
Mm-hmm.
probably where the Vikings descended from. It's associated with advanced weaponry and often wiped out in great wars. One example is in Nevada, there was a Paiute tribe spoke of the Siteka, a race of red-haired giants who lived in caves. In Lovelock Cave, remains of 8 to 10-foot tall beings were found, including giant sandals and tools too large for normal humans. These motherfuckers made shoes, bro.
Bro, they had some slides.
Dude, they had slides. Dude, they had them Nike swoosh slides on, bro. And you're over here talking about they're not real. Imagine, dude, you could
Dude.
sleep. Dude, you could sleep on that. You remember those race car beds?
Yeah,
Dude,
man.
that's what them slides were like. You could me and
Dude,
you go, you could just
fuck.
lay in one. We could just lay into it.
That's crazy. We got the
Fuck
idea
yeah.
of flip flops from them and we denied that they were real.
Exactly, bro. And then it
Fuck.
makes sense why they could now it's either frequency technology or there was giants that could pick up these stones with no problem. Which one do
Yeah.
you think? Which one do you think it is?
Yeah.
So Comanche, Navajo, Mandan recounted battling giants, sometimes with the help of star people or sky gods. So there is some weird shit that may have been going on back in the day, bro. And that's what this shit right here is what really got me into all this, by the way, was I was reading like stories like that where I was like, what really happened? You know what I'm saying? Because even in Hindu culture, you have this idea of like the sky gods are fighting up in the air and it looks like a nuclear explosion. And it's
Yeah.
like, holy shit, what did they think they saw back then?
Like fucking Pokemon.
It's
Like
exciting.
fucking Palkia and Dialga
Got to
battling
catch
in
them
the
all.
sky and shit, dude.
Yeah, Mewtwo and shit. Remember that?
Oh yeah, dude.
So, Smithsonian's suppression of the hidden bones of the giants, like we discovered or talked about earlier, where they just lie to you about the warehouses. Um, they repeatedly involved themselves only to take possession of the bones, deny their existence, and then claim they were misidentified or destroyed. But in 2014, a satirical story claiming the Smithsonian's lost 1,000 of giant skeletons was quickly debunked. But that hoax article triggered renewed public interest, revealing that thousands of real 1800s records and clippings existed. So, in other words, they put out a hoax to try to discredit this thing, but then as people looked into that hoax, they found that there was real clippings that actually proved that it was going on. You see what
Oh
I'm saying?
yeah,
So it
dude.
that's what we call blowback. You know what I'm saying?
That's
That's crazy.
wild, dude. That's funny as fuck though. Yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely came back
Yeah.
to bite him in the ass a little bit.
It did. So I found in multiple countries there has been accounts of like I'm talking about some of these are recent, dude. US soldiers reportedly in Iran encountered a giant of Kandahar, 12 plus feet tall, red-haired humanoid. In Iraq, ancient Sumerian carvings showed human-sized people next to beings 2 to 3 times larger, holding lions like house cats, which we've all seen that picture.
Hmm.
And in Brazil, Amazon tribes speak of a white skinned forest giant who retreated underground. These might be the ant people that helped out the Hopis,
Oh, dude.
you know?
Yeah.
The elongated skulls of some of these humanoids has been found, which maybe is why humans do the elongated skull thing in Africa and whatnot to mimic these giants. And in Sardinia, there was massive skeletons that have been reportedly unearthed under megalithic towers. Which megalithic, we're talking ancient fucking shit that we've been talking about the whole time.
Right.
So they seem to be connected to all these spots. And then finally, in North America, in all the spots that we talked about mounds and various things Ohio, Missouri, Wisconsin, West Virginia, dozens of mound burials containing 7 to 12 foot skeletons were found.
Damn.
Dude, there's something there. There's some giants out there, bro.
Yeah, and the site, I mean, well fuck, yeah, the mound sites that are still up now are pretty pretty guarded. They're pretty protected, you know what I mean? You can't
Oh,
really
yeah.
you can't dig up in them bitches and see if there's any giant skeletons in there.
No, 100%. I mean, these dudes probably built those megalithic structures. 100%. I mean, I can't imagine if they didn't. So who are they though? That's the question. Are they the Nephilim, the Anunnaki? In other words, did we result in the inbreeding between celestial beings and humans, or to make humans with other primates, like the Anunnaki story? Or
Right.
was it a race that came before Adam, existed before humanity? So it has nothing to do with anything else. It's just a race that happened to be here, and then we came along.
The real
Or
OGs.
right, or is an Atlantean remnants, survivors of the cataclysmic civilization that we talk about with the uh like if there was an ancient civilization that was advanced, we can call it Atlantis. It's possible that these were the leftover people that lived after that, right?
Right.
And then there's a possibility that this is the least likely, interdimensional gatekeepers, entities placed on Earth to anchor or guard portals between worlds. I always throw that out there, but I doubt it. But it does seem that these temples are always located in certain spots that if you wanted to make a portal, if that's real, you would do it there. And then these said people would be the ones who created it. Therefore, they're the guarders of it, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know, just a thought. So this validates biblical and indigenous cosmologies if you were to find giants. It also fucks up the evolution timeline, and it unveils the reality of pre-human global civilization, hybrid genetics, and forbidden knowledge. And this could expose the truth about underground cities, stargates, and hidden rulers of the earth. And that's why I believe they're trying to keep it from people, because we can't be proving what the Bible says by finding giants, and the Bible talks about giants, and we can't be proving what it says about, because then they'll believe all this stuff about sacrifice or this and that and how that's bad, and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that there's a lot of that going on as well. But yeah, dude, that shit's crazy. What do you think?
That is pretty nuts. I think it's I don't know, man. I like the Giants. I definitely think they were real. I think they were around.
Ooh, hold on. Whoa. Hold on a second.
We got
What the fuck? So there might be some DNA evidence of giants and elite bloodlines, which I've definitely heard this, but I haven't delved too far into it, but we can get into it. In dozens of documented giant skeletons, no DNA results have ever been made public. It's possible that that's because you could relate them to the genetics of these elites today. But I'm trying to get to why that is. Okay, so unofficial release conducted Brian Forrester, geneticists who remain in mtDNA mutations unknown to modern humans were found in some of these giants in this particular study. Indications of a non-Homo sapien origin, potential link to Caucasoid haplogroups, which shouldn't be there, and subsequences don't match anything in known databases. In red-haired giants in Rh negative blood, this is the one I've heard about. Okay, many ancient cultures describe giants as having red or reddish golden hair, an extremely rare trait worldwide. Interestingly, red hair is often linked to Rh negative blood types. Only 15% of the world is Rh negative, and it's concentrated in Egyptian mummies, native tribes, Irish and Scottish highlands, which is like, this is like all mystery school areas. This is
mm-hmm.
all where these motherfuckers hung out. And then I've heard the story that like these Rh people are like the elite bloodlines, and that's why they want to do the eugenics. So they
Yeah.
could keep the Rh negative like together, so they could keep it as close to the giant blood as they can. Because you know what I'm trying to say,
Right.
dude, that's crazy. So then, whenever you look at the COVID shit and the mRNA shit, I heard that there's some shit with that in their bloodline, but I'm not going to speculate right now. But Rh negative blood may trace to a non-human Nephilim or pre-Adamic lineage. That's crazy. I kind of think so.
That would explain some things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty
Got
interesting. Yeah,
so it
and I
could be
guess
yeah.
yeah, it
Go
makes a
ahead.
lot of sense if they're only finding the shit with motherfuckers who are gingers.
Yeah. So some speculate that ruling bloodlines like the Rothschilds, ancient pharaohs, all show an obsession with lineage, like we're saying. Well, RH, oh no, you bitch. I lost my spot. I'll be right back. Okay, here it is. Rh negative blood could be yeah. Whoa. Smithsonian genetic black hole. Hundreds of remains were documented in the 1800s to the early 1900s. Many said to have double rows of teeth, unusual skull shapes, unexplained height. Yet when we went to the Smithsonian's, when sent there, skeletons vanished, reports were rewritten or retracted, and no DNA testing results ever were made public. It's just weird, man. That's some data suppression. That's what that
Two
is.
rows of teeth?
Yeah, dude.
Damn, they
Yeah.
were fucking eaten.
Mm-hmm. So there's stories from this Phil Schneider guy who was a military whistleblower, and this guy could be full of shit. I haven't looked into him or vetted him, but apparently there was giant humanoid remains found deep underground caverns that he was at. Hybrid beings, not just tall, but with reptilian, insectoid, or avian DNA markers. I think I have heard of this guy, and I think he's full of shit. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Anytime I hear insectoid, reptilian, and they start mixing all these different breeds, I just start thinking, okay, dude, come on. But who knows? Maybe I'm just being closed minded, which I don't think I am, but maybe. So this
Yeah.
is possibly the forbidden genome theory that we're touching on right now. Increasingly, the belief is that they are hiding the truth of bifurcated humanity. In other words, Homo sapiens and Homo gigantus and the Nephilitic lineages, possibly seeded from off-world DNA, tracked and bred via bloodline families, protected by institutions like Smithsonian, Vatican, or DARPA. So if you're not following, these elites were seeded by DNA not of this world, whether it's literal aliens, fallen angels, or something else. And that DNA is being tracked and bred into bloodlines and staying in royalty and secret societies. And then it's being protected by institutions funded by these elite families like the Smithsonian, Vatican, DARPA, NIH. That is some fucking crazy shit.
Yeah.
I think that is exact. So there's something called Project Gilgamesh, the Human Genome Project, and CRISPR. Look into those things because they may all tie into recovering, editing, or reactivating DNA. You don't have to look into it, but I was talking to the listeners because that may be part of it. So yeah, dude, they may be preserving this Nephilim DNA so they could do something with it later, dude. I mean, think about it, dude. They brought those dire wolves back. What if they take this DNA, dude, and they extract just that one art, like just that, and they make
Yeah.
a Nephilim again?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
no.
saying? Like, what if that's what they're trying to do?
I mean, they're working on shit, that lady, it was just recently on the Rogan podcast. She was talking about shit that it was going to be a surprise. And they're working on
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but I think they've been hinting at they're working on a woolly mammoth.
Oh yeah,
They're
no, yeah,
working on like
I
different
saw
kinds
that.
of tigers. They're working on the American cheetah.
They're going to bring the woolly mammoth back, and they're funded by the venture capital arm of the CIA called InQtel.
Yeah.
Self-admittedly, they're funded by InQtel, and InQtel funds companies that are the type of companies you'd see in a James Bond villain kind of shit. Like
Yeah.
you're like, okay, the James Bond villain does that type of shit, but they seem to only fund companies that do shit that just shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
we're gonna make this computer operate on brain cells from a human.
Yeah.
What? Why would you do something like that? Why would you ever? Why would you make a computer feed on human brain cells? Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah, that's fucked, dude.
Am I the only person that thinks they're out of their fucking mind?
That's pretty sick.
I mean, dude, that is just crazy.
But
That is crazy.
but that lady, she was pretty persistent on, they're not trying to recreate any sort of person or uh anything like that because they can't make that decision. They can't ask for permission to do that.
Remember when
But
we
who's
talked
to
about how
say,
the military can though?
right? But like, yeah,
Yeah.
and who's to say that, you might be right if they do supposedly have giant DNA and all of these other animals are brought back successfully. Who's to say that they can't bring back the giants?
Yeah, and then their argument's going to be, look, we got something to feed them. We can feed them the mammoths. They're
Yeah,
gonna
we
have
got
plenty
all these
because the whole
fucking
argument was
dumb.
that
We got all like the first copies out right now. We got all like the
yeah.
duds in the fucking bucket over here. We could just feed them those.
Well, the argument was that the giants never could satiate their hunger and they just kept eating and eating and they started eating humans and then they had to fucking be wiped from the earth because it was an abomination and God just couldn't handle it. But what I'm saying is they're gonna be like, look, man, we got to answer to that. We can answer that. We'll just make a bunch of mammoths. They'll be
Oh,
fine. It's like, dude,
dude.
that's not the answer.
They're gonna start eating people again, and then it's gonna be
Again,
like Attack on Titan, bro.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And
we're fucked.
now I believe they're living in the etheric realm, and we have to sacrifice people and do all types of fucked up shit so they can fucking feed on it in some other realm right now.
Yeah.
That these crazy psychos on top are contacting them. That's just my little crazy theory, but whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed this, man. We got into a lot of ancient civilizations all over the world. They're definitely hiding it. They're definitely hiding ancient advanced civilizations, probably for obvious reasons that we've spoke about. But let me know your thoughts. Definitely, support the page, man. If you liked it, give us a shout out. We appreciate you. Come back, see us again next time. Y'all stay golden out there.